The markets may be closed, but the business stories are just heating up. I'm Robert Tan. Catch up with us on Business Brief. Here's what's making headlines today. CA freezes the Yap brothers' assets over the flood control scandal. An arrest warrant against Discaya is expected this week. Manibela launches 3-day nationwide transport strike. World Bank forecasts PH economy to slow to 5.1% in 2025. And Meralco cuts electricity rates by more than 35 centavos. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. announces the Court of Appeals issues a sweeping asset freeze targeting lawmakers and companies linked to alleged flood control corruption. The freeze affects Benguet Representative Eric Yap and ACT-CIS Representative Edvic Yap, as well as their companies Silver Wolves Construction Corporation and Skyyard Aviation Corporation. The order freezes 280 bank accounts, 22 insurance policies, 3 securities accounts, and 8 aircrafts, aiming to prevent the disposal of suspected ill-gotten wealth.
Kailangan natin ang mga freeze order na ito para hindi maibenta ang mga ari-arian at para maibalik natin sa ating mga kababayan ang bawat pisong pinaghihinalaang ninakaw.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. also announces an arrest warrant against contractor Sara Discaya is expected within the week. In a recorded video message posted on his social media accounts, Marcos gave an update on developments in the flood control probe. Marcos said Discaya may soon be arrested.
Inaasahan na rin nating lalabas ang warrant of arrest na ni Sara Discaya itong linggong ito at hindi na rin magtatagal ang pag-aresto sa kanya.
He added that 8 DPWH personnel in Davao Occidental have expressed their willingness to surrender to the NBI. Marcos also assured that the government's efforts with the flood control probe will press on.
Magpapatuloy ang imbestigasyon, magpapatuloy ang pagpapanagot at titiyakin ng pamahalaan na ang pera ng bayan ay maibabalik sa taong bayan.
Amid growing scrutiny over public works spending, residents of Surigao del Norte's 2nd District filed a renewed complaint before the Independent Commission on Infrastructure, alleging unfinished and substandard government projects. First filed with the National Bureau of Investigation, the complaint cites multiple publicly funded projects left unfinished or deteriorated, supported by project records and site documentation, yet no action is taken months after submission. Residents Wilbert Ga and Ana Marie Eshin pushed for an impartial ICI probe into discrepancies between official reports and actual project conditions. Among the flagged items, a Discaya-linked access road project in Surigao City under St. Gerard Construction, marked over 30% complete in DPWH systems, but showing no visible construction activity on site. Former Senator Antonio Trillanes believes the International Criminal Court may serve an arrest warrant against Senator Bongo and former Philippine National Police Chief Oscar Albayalde. On BNC's At the Forefront, Trillanes said he maintains communications with the ICC as an interested party in former President Rodrigo Duterte's case. He highlights the court is focused on pursuing those most responsible as opposed to the co-perpetrators mentioned in Duterte's ICC records.
They're not really after even the mid-level operators. So, mananaro down yung mga mai-issuehan ng warrant. Eventually, probably, at most, mga 4 ang mai-issuehan.
Trillanes is also confident that retired Police Colonel Royina Garma will serve as an ICC witness against Duterte.
I can state definitively that Royina Garma will be a witness against Duterte. When she was here, she was already interviewed by the ICC investigators, and also now that she has left the country, they continue to engage with her.
Amid mounting public pressure for cleaner governance, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. instructs Congress to fast-track a long-debated anti-political dynasty measure, framing it as key to restoring investor and taxpayer confidence.
In a LEDAC meeting this morning, the President also instructed both houses to take a closer look at the 4 bills and prioritize the passage as soon as possible. Present during the LEDAC were Senate President Vicente Soto III, House Speaker Faustino D. III, and Majority Leader Sandro Marcos and other congressional leaders.
The President's directive includes a broader push for political and fiscal transparency, the Independent People's Commission Act, the Partyless System Reform Act, and the Citizens Access and Disclosure of Expenditures for National Accountability Act, all aimed at strengthening public oversight and ensuring tighter accountability on the use of government funds. Transport group Manibela kicks off its 3-day transport strike across the country. Manibela began its protest in Quezon City to call out the supposed excessive penalties, delays in franchise renewals, and an alleged payola system in the Department of Transportation and the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board. The group said the policies have affected the livelihood of drivers. Authorities have deployed personnel to help manage traffic and assist commuters affected by the strike. We're taking a short break. Stick around. We've got more stories ahead. You're watching Business Brief. The World Bank says the Philippine economy will slide this year, with growth dropping to 5.1% from 5.7% in 2024. Paolo Barcelon is on the line for more details. Paolo, go ahead.
Robert, the impact of the flood control corruption scandal is now extending beyond damaged communities and is weighing heavily on business confidence and investments. The World Bank warns that governance issues revealed by the scandal must be addressed quickly to prevent further damage to the economy. World Bank senior economist Jafar Al-Rikabi also reports declines in foreign direct investments and public infrastructure spending this year. Tourist arrivals from South Korea have also dropped, affecting one of the country's top tourism markets. Despite these challenges, the World Bank notes positive developments such as lower average inflation at 1.8% this year and a steadily improving job market. Business groups are urging the government to prioritize major infrastructure projects and expand education and industrial reforms. Robert.
Thank you for that report, Paolo Barcelon. Meanwhile, for more on this, we're joined via Zoom by Mr. Jonathan Ravela, Senior Advisor of Reyes Tacandong and Company. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Robert.
Now, Jonathan, what are the main factors behind the World Bank lowering the Philippines' GDP forecast to 5.1% for 2025?
Okay, it's actually a combination of issues. One of them was the tariff at the start of the year. Second, we have lowering inflation, but it's still a challenge for consumers. And add to that the governance issue brought about by this floodgate scandal. So this actually created a slowdown on spending.
Mm-hmm. Now, Jonathan, during times of uncertainty, we see that bond markets often see activity. Do you expect this to happen if the World Bank's forecast holds?
Well, basically, typically investors would probably be investment shy, so they'd probably move to the safety of government securities. So this is actually what is slowly happening, and we're seeing this in the auction of treasury bills, which has gained in terms of volume.
Now, how might the PSEI now perform if Philippine economic growth slows down?
Okay, let's view the current situation as, if we talk about Philippine fundamentals, they remain strong. We're a resilient economy. It's just that at this point in time, imagine yourself having a toothache and you're about to have lunch or eat in a buffet. Regardless of how good the food is, you're not really going to make any investment. So this is eventually what's happening in the country. So most likely the stock market, despite the attractive valuations, they will not invest. So most likely we'll see sideways to down action first before we get to see more substantial movements. And we're all after these governance reforms that earlier you mentioned as part of what the president mentioned earlier from the LEDA. So if that materializes, then that could actually be a catalyst for investors to start looking back at the Philippine equity market.
Now, having said that, Jonathan, for those long-term investors, is now a good time or a bad time to enter the market?
Oh, if you haven't made any investments, the current prices are actually lucrative to look at, and these are most likely consumer staples, and probably utilities are a good start for investors. But again, there's still downside risks. But again, this could be a good opportunity to start selectively investing. So I think the key word is accumulate.
And with the unemployment data coming out tomorrow, what is your forecast for the rate?
Oh, well, basically, I think we should see some improvements on the number itself, especially with inflation coming down and prospects of lower interest rates. So this should at least pave the way for a more stable inflation at around 4 to around 4.2%.
Now, before we go, Jonathan, do you expect the BSP to cut the interest rates, and what would be the reason for that?
Okay, I think with the inflation at 1.5% for November, it gives the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas leeway to cut rates further. And we also note that the U.S. Federal Reserve is likely going to cut. So a 25 basis point cut will most likely materialize. And probably another 50 in 2026.
Okay, on that note, Jonathan, thank you for sharing us your insights on the economy. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Meanwhile, relief on utility bills this Christmas season, Meralco cuts its household electricity rate for December, breaking a 2-month streak of price hikes. For details, let's hear from Pierre Pastor.
Yes, Robert, Meralco consumers can expect lower electricity bills this December. The country's largest power distributor has announced 35 centavos per kilowatt hour of rollback, bringing the overall rate down to 13 pesos and 11 centavos from last month's 13 pesos and 47 centavos. Meralco spokesperson Joe Zaldiriaga says a household consuming 200 kilowatt hour a month can expect to save about 71 pesos, offering timely relief ahead of the holiday season. The reduction is mainly driven by lower transmission and generation charges. Transmission costs dropped due to reduced ancillary service fees from the National Grid Corporation, while generation charges declined as independent power producer rates fell, helped by lower natural gas prices, better plant dispatch, and stronger peso that eased dollar-denominated costs. These decreases offset slight increases in PSA and WESM rates caused by plant maintenance and market adjustments. For December, Meralco supply mix came from 73% PSAS, 21% IPPS, and 6% WESM taxes, and other charges also registered a net drop. Meralco adds that its distribution charge has remained unchanged since 2022. Robert?
Thank you for that report, Pierre Pastor. Meanwhile, Finance Secretary Frederick Go pushes estate tax amnesty extension to 2028 to unlock idle assets and boost productivity. Go said the government's move to support House Bill 6614 will maximize the use of dormant wealth and ease financial burden on families. The bill allows heirs to settle estate taxes in full or through 1-year installments, provided documents are complete. Failure to comply will trigger penalties. The amnesty aims to formalize inheritance transfers and boost asset productivity, potentially unlocking trillions in dormant wealth nationwide. And when corruption shakes the economy and investor confidence falls, the Philippines needs a shield, a de-risking partner that lowers risk. On BNC's Business 360, Maharlika Investment Corporation President and CEO Rafael Consing Jr. highlights the sovereign wealth fund's role in protecting investors amid uncertainty.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest with you. Investors read the news. When we sit down with foreign partners, they do ask about the political climate. They ask about stability. Capital is cowardly. It runs at the first sign of trouble. However, has it stopped our conversations? Actually, no. In fact, in a strange way, it highlights the value proposition of Maharlika. In an environment where investors are worried about regulatory risk or governance issues, Maharlika acts as a de-risking partner. When a global investor sees that the Philippine government, for a professionally managed corporate vehicle like MIC, they're able to, who's willing to invest and put its own skin in the game, gives them great comfort.
Yeah.
Signals that the specific project is a national priority and will be handled with transparency.
Investors trust Maharlika because of its reputation, an independent, transparent system led by professionals, insulating them from corruption and governance risks. Consing also addresses links of convicted fraudster Patrick Mahoney with Maharlika.
None. And I want to be absolute and categorical about this point. He's never been an advisor, I've never been an employee, and never been a consultant.
We're taking another short break. Up next, a quick look at how Philippine shares closed today. That and more when Business Brief returns. Stay with us. Asian markets are trading mostly lower today after Wall Street pulled back from record levels. Across the region, it's mostly a sea of red, with only Singapore Straits Times managing to hold in positive territory. On currencies, the US dollar is largely steady against the yen, Hong Kong dollar, Singapore dollar, and Thai baht, while the Australian dollar strengthens against the greenback. The US dollar also picks up slightly against the South Korean won. And gold and oil prices trade lower. In crypto, Bitcoin slips 0.7%, and Ethereum drops more than 1%. Philippine shares end in the positive territory. The PSEI ended nearly 0.5% higher to 59.76. The sectoral indices were mixed, with mining and oil falling most at more than 2%. Property rose the most at almost 2%. Decliners outpaced advancers 132 to 83, with value turnover at 10.5 billion pesos. Majority of the day's most active stocks were in the red, with DigiPlus falling the most at nearly 10%. And on currencies, the peso is currently trading at 59.15 against the US dollar, down from the previous close of 58.94. Short-term pain for long-term gain. SunTrust Resort Holdings takes a massive 27.4 billion pesos hit after giving up its rights to the West Side City Integrated Resort. But the move speeds up construction. Total assets plunged 84% from 54.21 billion pesos to 8.43 billion pesos, while cash drops 2.04 billion pesos year to date. The losses are mostly accounting related, as SunTrust transfers its rights and obligations to Entertainment City Renaissance Corporation, paving the way for the $1.25 billion LetX Hotel and Casino in Entertainment City, Parañaque. SunTrust shreds its books as a strategic gamble, trading today's losses for a bigger future stake in the project. A 145-megawatt solar project by Northern Palawan Power Generation Corporation is set to start operations in May 2026 in Subic, Zambales. The Kawag Solar Power Project recently gained approval to connect to the national grid via a dedicated 230-kilovolt transmission line. The Energy Regulatory Commission previously rejected a second proposed facility for not meeting point-to-point requirements, reducing project costs to 1.05 billion pesos. The NPP-GC is a unit of Bilyonaryo Manny Zamora's Emerging Power Incorporated, the renewable energy arm of listed Minor Nickel Asia Corporation. The regulator said the connection will ensure continuous, reliable, and efficient power supply under the Electric Power Industry Reform Act. Meanwhile, the Consumer Lending Association of the Philippines plans to boost lending by up to 30% from 20.6 billion pesos in 2025, targeting 300,000 new borrowers each month. CLAP resident Arian Ferrer said they aim to give opportunity to people who lack credit records and documentation, including micro-entrepreneurs and sari-sari store owners, allowing them to have their first financial account. Ferrer also said the group plans to use alternative data and technology to assess credit risks for borrowers with limited credit history. CLAP also advocates regulatory adjustments that protect consumers without disrupting digital lending infrastructure. CLAP represents leading digital lenders including Juan Hand, Money, Skyro, Tala, TendoPay, and Savvy. And that's a wrap for today's Business Brief. I'm Robert Tan. Join us again tomorrow for stories that help you plan your next big, bold business moves. Only here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.